Hello everyone, it's Teferi07. We are playing Miracle Beans again. So this is the third video of this list on my channel. I think it is exactly the same like in the last video. Entreat of the Angels one-off, I think right now maybe could be the only change. Everything else I think is the same. List is working great, and I got another trophy with this list and I really like it. It's working out great, and still I didn't lose a single match to scam. I think I'm already like 7 or 8-0 against a scam. The games were not that easy, they were like quite tense and close, but I somehow win all of those. Once you stabilize with this deck, it's almost impossible to turn around for the opponent. And once you play the Terminus from the top and you get it going, then you remove all your opponent's board, and it's very hard for the opponent to come back after that situation. Okay, so this time again in the league I played scam 2 times, win both of these times, and just continuing great run against it. On the last video I also commented how deck is working out great against a scam, and I think just because of that it's already great option. But also it's not just that, this deck is beating all the aggro matchups which are very represented right now in the modern. So the scales, Terminus just removes all their stuff. It doesn't even matter if they have modulars or whatever, so you just put everything on the bottom of the library, not even in the graveyard. And against Yawgmoth is also very popular deck right now. Okay, so we have Beanstalks in this deck. They are like the engine of this deck because we have so many cards that trigger it. We have 4 Solitude, 4 Binding, 4 Terminus, 3 Time Warp, Lórien's, March, and Entreat. And which is interesting tech, Entreat, when you play it as a miracle, if you pay 3 mana for it, and to make one single 4/4 white angel, you still trigger the beans because they see this mana cost, so they see it as you paid 5 mana for it. So actually you can pay 3 mana for the miracle of the Entreat and still trigger the beanstalk. That is very cool tech. Okay, so aside from that, we are playing Preordain in this list. It's the best cantrip currently in the modern. It's very worth it. You can set up the top of your library in the early turns, and I think that is the most important part. Just keeping your 1-landers with the Preordain and just making it out, finding that second land you need to play the beanstalk and to get the further engine going and the card draw. And the Preordain has been really good. So thanks to the beanstalk, what you can do often if you have like Teferi, or even without Teferi, you can play Solitude, Leyline Binding, March of Otherworldly in your opponent's turn, and that way you get the trigger from the beanstalk to draw a card, and you can often use it that way to trigger the Terminus miracle from the top in your opponent's turn. Other than that, of course, Jace is best enabler in the game for the miracle cards, and that is the reason why we play 3 of those. So you have to be careful when playing this card, but it is very strong in this deck because you are protecting it with a lot of removal and the counter spells. So even if your opponent plays a Bowmaster in response to the Jace ability, you will probably have either Teferi on the field to prevent them from playing anything, or you'll have like counter spell or just simple removal for it, and that's it. Okay, so in a lot of situations, even post board, there's like dress down, subtlety, and you can really in a lot of situations just guarantee that your opponent has no chance in surprising you with a Bowmaster, and it's very easy to play around it, in this deck at least. Okay, so that's it. 3 Jaces as enablers for our miracles, Entreats, and Terminus. I would advise against playing too many miracle spells in a deck. That's why I want time warps in this list and not the miracle ones. So if I would play the miracle extra turns in a different list, playing less of the others miracle cards. I think just playing more than 5, it's too many, because we don't have that many good enablers for the miracle cards, and I think Terminus is the most important one at the current metagame, so that's it. Okay, so another sweet 5 with this list, second trophy in this season with it, and it's very good, it's very powerful, and let's just check out the gameplay. Okay, so Entreat has been amazing win condition. I think one of Entreat is like mandatory for this list, and just it's very hard to play without it, and yeah. Okay, playing first against a scam, of course they go for the grief. On turn 1, play the Undying spell, take my Preordain and take the Lórien Revealed. So now I'm a bit sorry I didn't Preordain on turn 1, but it's fine. At least I have 2 counter spells, so my opponent can't play another spell, so I'm kind of just waiting for them to... I didn't want to counterspell the Totsis because then they'd be able to play land and Ragavan, so I just let them see my hand again, play my land tapped, and just patiently wait for till I find the answer for the grief on the field. Unfortunately, all I get is the third counterspell, so definitely not the card I wanted here. Opponent plays another Totsis. I go for Flooded Strand, getting the Zagoth Triome, and yeah, here I find that removal I need. I had 4 draws here, so it was about time to find it. Okay, so opponent going for Bolt, putting me on 4 life, but I'm pretty good here, 2 counter spells in hand, and my draws from the top are pretty good. I have a lot of good stuff I can find. Opponent just goes for Doughty, which I can counter. On my turn I can play the Beanstalk and still hold the mana for the counter spell. And now situation is like looking really good for me. So I have a counter spell for their turn. On my turn I can go for Teferi. I also just top deck the Terminus, which would be great if they had another thing. If they put another some more creatures into play, but they didn't, so I was able to just counter their Fable, which was I think pretty good, that I holded a turn and not playing this Teferi, and then I was able to play the Teferi, bounce the Beanstalk, so I get the extra draws, and now it's my turn, I can do whatever I want. So going for the Jace, bounce the Fable token and pass the turn, so have 5 mana here, Solitude in hand, Beanstalk in hand, lot of stuff really I can do here, yeah. Opponent goes for the Ragavan dash, and at this point they only have one card in hand. I go for the Solitude, exile the Ragavan in the attack phase, and opponent concedes. That was the game. So next turn I'm doing the Jace ability. I have Teferi on the field, preventing opponent from doing anything in response. Okay, so game 2 starting second. A pretty good hand. Opponent again has the Grief Scam. Opponent had the Grief Scam in both games. And yeah, I get the Terminus immediately. I play 4 Terminus in my deck, a lot of removal, 4 binding, 4 Terminus, 2 March, and also on the sideboard I have Celestial Purges, so there is a lot of removal. And yeah, I made a wrong decision there. I should have gone for the basic. It was just there was just no point in not getting the basic on the last turn and not playing safe. And I did a small mistake there, and it costed me the game. I have a lot of basics here, so 4 islands, 2 plains, but I was not fortunate enough to get them in this one. I get the binding, so if I found the plains on that turn, I would be able to get the moon, and yes, so I would be in an okay situation, but this way I just lose and that's it. So I had to settle this in game 3. This is one of the ways they can beat you if you're playing this deck, so you have to be careful not to do this same mistake. If I just went played secure there, and if I just went for planes on that turn, it would be pretty easy win. I had great hand, opponent was just on 2 cards, yeah. Okay, so this time I went for the planes early and played the Rest in Peace. So now opponent will not be able to get the scam in this one, but they did scam in the first two games. I get to play the Teferi, bounce the Doughty, which is definitely a situation I want to be in. Another land is not great, but I get to find another basic, bounce the Doughty again, and just give me enough time to try to find more top decks. Something from the top that helped me in this situation. At least I'm safe from the Blood Moon in this one. I find the Terminus from the top, so I can just get rid of the Shaman token, grow my Teferi, and cycle the Zagoth Triome. Unfortunately, in my hand, second Rest in Peace, pretty dead. Also 3 lands, at least I can cycle the Zagoth Triome. Okay, opponent goes for the Grief. End of turn, I discard the Rest in Peace. I find the Lórien Revealed, so something playable. And yeah, finally got some good cards. There's Solitude and Counterspell. Okay, so opponent also got some stuff right now, and I was thinking at this moment to let this Teferi die or save the Teferi, but I just didn't feel like it was a good move to go for pitch Solitude there when I can just hardcast the Solitude and make them deal with it. Also holding the counterspell for their turn, also have the binding, and the Rest in Peace is also there, so all their undying spells are dead. Opponent plays the Bowmaster, and I think it's best to counter the Bowmaster in a situation like this. It's easiest to counter it because if you don't counter it, it's problematic to deal with. Okay, so opponent attacks with Grief and also has the Doughty plus Colgan Command, so pretty good turn for the opponent, but I still had Leyline Binding and Teferi and Entreat from the top with a lot of mana. This is classic Miracle, and this card is just so great. Just from the top put 20 power on the field and end the game in a single turn. That is so sweet. Yeah, love this card. So I untap, play the Solitude, play the Leyline Binding, exile Fury, exile the Doughty, and opponent concedes a glorious win for the Miracles in a good Miracle style way, and that was match 1. Okay, so let's check out the match 2. I'm really liking the Entreat. It was just so good. I can't believe I didn't play it in the earlier the first iteration of the deck. Okay, so I really like March of Otherworldly Light in this list more than Prismatic Ending. Okay, so Preordain here, finding the Beanstalk. And next turn I can go Beanstalk plus the Solitude or Teferi, whatever is better. And yeah, my opponent was playing Creativity. That is actually not a great matchup for usual blue-white control decks, but this is not usual blue-white control decks. This deck is playing the Beanstalk, and we know that Beanstalk can really just outgrind anything, and that includes just 2 Archons resolved on the field. if you can get enough beans on the field, with a bit of luck and some good cards, I think you can you can outgrind anything, and even the Archons resolved from the creativity. Okay, so play my land, passing the turn, hoping to get the land for the turn so I can play the Time Warps. Yeah, that didn't happen, so I had to settle for the Beanstalk and the Binding. Still hoping for that land. Didn't get it, but I get more bindings, which is great. So I go again for that, taking Teferi so I can play on opponent's turn or just bluff playing if anything else. I didn't have a white card for Solitude there, but even if they have like Archon, I untap and play, start doing the Time Warps, drawing the cards, and at this point it is just a game over. So yeah, my opponent obviously didn't have a counter spell, and so I was able just to jam the Time Warps, get my stuff going, play another Binding, drawing more cards, clearing their board totally, and yeah. Now it's just over, so I don't even care what my opponent has. Even if they cast like 2 Archons, it can help them. So I was just yeah, this was over. I just need to find the Entreat or hard cast the Solitudes, and just slowly, unfortunately, start attacking. So that's why I'm trying to dig. Opponent kills 1 Jace, but I have more of those, so I don't really care about them killing it. Shuffling my library, trying to find the Entreat. Yeah, so this is just game over. Opponent actually casted the Archon, but even if they resolve it, it's just not important. Yeah, I go for another Time Warp, play another Solitude, and yeah, finally opponent concedes. That was the game. Okay, let's check out the game 2. So if I can get to the state where I have like 2 beans on the field, I actually think it's fine for me to let them just resolve the Archon if I have like enough cards in hand, so I don't discard the relevant ones. Okay, so in this matchup I'm trimming on Terminus. I still want like 2 of those in, but not a lot of them. Also trimmed the Entreat. I think the Entreat is not the way to win here. I just have to go full control. Trim on Preordain also, bring in. I have 3 more counter spells on my sideboard. Flusterstorm, 1 Flusterstorm, 1 Veto, and 1 Force. I trimmed 1 Jace too. Jace kind of can be awkward at 4 mana in this matchup, like you play it for 4 mana and then just play the creativity, kill Jace. It can be pretty awkward, so I trimmed 1. Dress down can be fine here, like play dress down in response to the creativity, then just bounce the Archon or Solitude. It's pretty good. Okay, but definitely on the draw, when opponent is playing first like this, they have Ren, I don't have beans, and it's pretty hard game for me. So I don't have a counter spell or anything. I just have to jam, draw cards and hope for the best. I go for the Teferi, Preordain, finding the Terminus. So basically I'm preparing for them the resolving Archon or whatever, so I can just use the Terminus next turn. But yeah, this game is definitely not looking good for me. Opponent still doesn't do anything, doesn't go for creativity yet. I don't know, maybe like waiting to have some protection for their creativity, like Spell Pierce or Wheel of Summer or something like that. Opponent now ultis the Vren 6, maybe they're waiting for that, probably. So, going for the attacks. Actually have the counterspell and the Terminus here, but yeah, that's not enough. They have the Pierce now, so they're probably waiting for the Vren ulti so they can replay the Pierce if needed. They resolve the Archons and I got the Terminus to remove them all, but they have 7 cards in hand and I have 1, and they can just beat me with they have also Vren emblem, so it's not good enough, and that is the game. Let's check out the game 2. Game 3. Okay, so also my opponent only has 2 minutes on the clock in the game 3. So not nearly enough time for them to get to win. But I also was able to just win the fairway, I think. I went for Teferi here. Resolving Teferi is a good start here. And drawing a card before they binding it, it's also good. So going for a binding, getting my Teferi back, then drawing a card from it. They get the Leyline back, and then I just doing this to draw more cards, and then I pass the turn with a counter spell in hand and the dress down. A lot of stuff there. I let them get my Teferi, but I have another binding in hand, so I can go through the same process again. Now I play the Beanstalk, get the draw, yeah, and again this situation is similar to that one of the last turn. I'm holding the counter spell, and yeah, they can have the Pierce of course here. Even if they have it, I can go like dress down in response, then just hard cast the Solitude. I mean, opponent is out of time, but this game is over anyway. I just have too much stuff. Too much stuff, just too much of. They don't even have the Vren, and that's it. Yeah. Okay, so that was the win. Even if my opponent didn't time out, that would still be definite win for me. I could just let them the Archon on the field and still win. Yeah. Okay, so in this match 3, opponent was playing a Hammer Time, and yeah, the Hammer Time matchup is just looking ridiculously easy with this deck. I was trying to find a white card here, so I was happy with Teferi. I just wanted to have something for the Solitude, as hopefully just next turn just play the Beanstalk and hold the Solitude. Opponent has Sigarda's Aid on the field, and I just draw my Terminus. Opponent goes on for Gingerbread and decides to use the Stoneforge ability to get the Colossus in the field. That is good, because I could be playing like Force of Negation, but I had Solitude there, drawing me card from the Beanstalk, and opponent is just like 1 card right now, and I have a lot of stuff here, so I basically need just to survive for a turn. I get the Leyline Binding, get the redraw from the Beanstalk. On my turn I can play the Teferi, and I'm still like on 14, which is really high. And on next turn I get to untap with the Jace. I have the Solitude of protection, also start time warping, and then the game is definitely over. My opponent has maybe this short window to have something incredible. Yeah, but that's not nearly enough. Opponent actually has the second Sigarda's Aid, which kind of gets them back into the game. And yeah, so I get the Time Warp, get the redraw, and it's pretty bad for them when I start doing this. Just getting the second Jace ability is a lot. Also got another Time Warp, which is huge. So I go for it again. Another draw from the Beanstalk. Just pumping mana on the field, finding the cards I want and need. Okay, so yeah, I have Terminus on the top and Entreat below it. So my plan is basically just play the Solitude, trigger the Beanstalk on their turn, and draw the Terminus from the top and cast it for 1 mana. So this way I remove all their creatures and put Solitude on the field. Unfortunately, I also got the draw from the Terminus, so my Entreat was not on the top, but it doesn't matter. I have another Jace ability to just put it on top for the next turn, and just passing with 2 counter spells in hand and Entreat on the field. In response to Entreat trigger, I fetch for another basic and pay a lot of mana to create 6 angels. And yeah, trigger the beans again, and opponent concedes. That is the game. Let's check out the game 2. Yeah, I played Hammer Time multiple times with this deck, and it always like seemed the matchup I can very quickly win, but you have to play carefully all the time. But like having Terminus against this deck is like really huge. Really huge. Okay, opponent goes for the Strict Proctor. This is actually like not that easy to deal with when they're playing first, but I have March of Otherworldly Light. I really like this card, and especially in the bean deck you can pay like 1 mana and exile 2 white cards from your hand, and there is a lot of white cards in this deck, so deck is drawing a lot, so often that is really not a big problem. So you can for 1 mana trigger the Beanstalk and exile something like Grief or Sheldred. Sheldred is very common hate people use to beat decks like this one. So being able to like kill it, exile it for 1 mana can be like really good. Yeah. Okay, so really awkward game. Opponent had 2 Esper Sentinels, and this is like definitely among best things they could have against a deck like mine. So I went for the Beanstalk and just paying the tax and drawing the card, trying to find solutions. Okay, so you have to know how much you can wait until you play some of the stuff. Okay, I went for another binding, paying the entire tax 3 mana for 3 sentinels. I can't do this forever, and my opponent has the surge again. They attack with sentinels, putting me on 6. I get the extra land finally, so still not being able to pay all the tax and hold the counter spell, but yeah, still went for it. I didn't want to give them cards, and I was able to play the binding here. Okay, so I didn't have any more options. I didn't find a white card for Solitude, so I didn't have options but just start going for Time Warp, and drawing the card also is very efficient. Yeah, so now I find another land, so this time I only give them 1 card and get the another turn. Cycle the Lórien, get another land, and play this Teferi and pay all the tax for it. Also have the Solitude which I can hold for their turn and bounce this strict proctor. So hopefully I'm going to survive on 1 life. Trigger the Beanstalk with Solitude. Okay, my opponent plays the Zagoth Aid, attacks with all the Sentinels. I go kill one of these guys and just survive on 1 life. I guess opponent forgot about Teferi, or maybe didn't. Yeah, but it finally got, yeah, I went through 30 cards trying to find the Terminus, and finally after 30 cards I find my first Terminus, clear their whole board and finally stabilize on 1 life. Totally stabilized. Teferi on the field, Jace on the field, Beanstalk on the field, and basically passing the turn with the counterspell and Leyline Binding. It's extremely hard situation for my opponent. Okay, so going for the second Beanstalk, doing the brainstorming with the Jace. I'm able to cycle the cards, fetches from the top with the Lórien. Lórien is very useful this way. Okay, so I have 7 lands here. Opponent tries to go for the Stoneforge. I play the Dress Down. So opponent get to resolve the Stoneforge, but they don't find equipment with it. I guess they were fine with it because they played another one. Yeah, end of turn I went for Leyline Binding, getting 2 draws, finding the Terminus. So I cleared the Zagoth Aid, planning on going for Terminus. I can play the Terminus instant speed, so I can just start plussing the Teferi, going for plussing the Jace, so I can go for Jace win. Opponent gets the Caldra, but I have Teferi on the field, so they can't respond with anything. They try to attack me. I play instant speed Terminus, triggering the Beanstalk, and yeah, getting pretty hard for the opponent. I have multiple counter spells right now, but opponent was definitely not giving up, despite me having all this stuff. Okay, so I think I removed yeah. Okay, let's see the sideboarding plan for this one. So trimming 1 counterspell, trimming 1 Preordain, and that's basically it. Not sure why I didn't bring in the Stony Silences. Maybe I just forgot about them. Okay, opponent going for Saga stuff. I actually play the Solitude. They find the needle, yeah, but that was not good enough, and opponent finally decides to concede, and that was the match. Okay, pretty painful games for the opponent with the miracles, and especially that second one, surviving on 1, stabilizing after 3 Esper Sentinels, and finally finding that Terminus after digging 30 cards deep to find it. Yeah, that was great. Okay, so starting off with Preordain, getting the breeding pool so I can play get basic and play the Beanstalk next turn. Opponent was on Dimir control, and yeah, resolving Beanstalk is very good against them since they can't sorry, this was Dimir control, but not a regular one, but they played a Lutri. It was like really close to the regular one, except they had Lutri, so I guess only one ring. I guess they didn't play rings. That is the big difference. But I had the Jace and I have the binding to get rid of it, so that was pretty good. Unfortunately, I was not able to both play binding and hold the counter spell, but I really didn't want to let them another Jace ability, and so had to get rid of that. Opponent decides to bounce the beans and then discard it. Maybe a better play for them was to go for bounce the binding and do the Jace ability. Maybe not. Definitely this way they got rid of the beans, but I find another one and had the hand full of cards even without it. Okay, so I had the Terminus on top, and that's why I let this Brazen Borrower attack me. So I got the Terminus on the top, cast it for 1 mana, trigger the Beanstalk, get the land, and yeah, pass the turn in a pretty comfortable position. I can just wait until I have enough for Time Warp plus Counterspell. So pretty comfortable situation for me. I go try to sack the heat. An opponent plays the Shadow of Depth, so I really wanted another land on the field. So I use my other counterspell and get my second trial. Okay, again I reveal Terminus from the top and I decide just to cast it just to get the redraw from the Beanstalk. Yeah, so I go for the Time Warp and yeah, I decided to cycle the Lórien. Maybe that was not the good decision, but I think that was fine. I can use the Beanstalk to draw a bunch of cards. I still have my companion. I have Solitude, so a lot of stuff there. I was able now to cast the Kahira and still hold the 5 mana to cast the Solitude next turn. Opponent has a lot of interaction here. They have subtlety, they had removal, but it is just not enough against the Beanstalk. Every spell I play basically draws me another card, replaces itself, and it's just unwinnable for their deck at this point if they don't have the ring, and they can't have it because it's a lottery deck, so there's just no way to getting back, stabilizing in this position. Of course they could have Sheldred and the Bowmaster, but they only have one of these, so not likely. Okay, so again I have Castle now, so I can just scry, see the 2 Teferis on the top. I'm pretty happy about that, so just keep that, play them. If they play anything, I have multiple removals, all of them trigger the Beanstalk, so yeah, pretty happy about that. Again, I can just Castle Vantress is really good card in a situation like this, controlling the top of your library, removing irrelevant cards, finding the stuff you need. It's so good in the control matchups like this one. Yeah, all my removals right now also trigger the Beanstalk, which is also very important part. I go for Scry, and opponent plays Effect of Fiction and resolve it. They take Sauron Ransom to hand. Okay, so again Teferi. So now I also have Beanstalk on the field, and also now I have Teferi on the field, which are 2 best cards against their deck, and I was able to counter that removal. So now all of their counter spells are dead, and yeah, they still don't have a solution for the Beanstalk. So it's pretty bad situation for the opponent. Yeah, they play this out. It's fair. They're trying to find some solutions, but it's like nearly impossible. I am on 7 life, so maybe like Sheldred plus Bowmaster could be good enough. And I go for the Solitude end of turn, and my opponent finally concedes. That was the game, and let's check the other one. Okay, let's check out the sideboard for this one. Okay, definitely don't want that much Terminuses against a deck like this one, which don't play almost any creatures. I still left 2 of those in, trimmed on March a bit, and yeah, that's basically it. My opponent really didn't play much removals, so I took off some of the removals I have, put in a couple of counter spells, just a force and Dovin's Veto, and that's it. These were all the changes I wanted and need in this matchup. Opponent discards my Beanstalk, so I just go for Kahira hand, and then play my Kahira, hold. I have Solitude, I have the Beanstalk. I'm went for the Time Warp, forcing my opponent to use their counters. I have Kahira on the field. I decide to use my Lórien to cycle it, get another land, because I really needed that second white land. I didn't have a second white one to play the Solitude, so I just really wanted to play the Solitude end of their turn, and they had Subtlety for it, which is totally fine because they don't have enough mana to for more interaction, so I'm just able to draw it again and then kill their Subtlety anyway. So it wasn't really efficient play for the opponent. And yeah, now I got the 7 damage and try to play Teferi, but they have a counter, but they don't have a removal. And that was lethal. Next turn, opponent concedes, and yeah, that was the match. That was match 4, and let's now check out the match 5, the trophy game with this list. And yeah, this deck is like really amazing. Once it stabilizes, there's just no going back for the opponent. It's over. Once you do the Terminus thing, it's really hard to recover. Okay, opponent going for the Tootsies, playing Scam again. So played Scam in that first match, and now again facing Scam. I was happy about this because I know that Scam is like a decent matchup for me, and I still haven't lost a single match to it. But kind of Kroxa can be hard to deal with, and my hand I had in this one was not great. I had to pitch cast the Solitude, mulligan on 6. I decided to take their binding, take their Fable and leave the Goblin Shaman token on the field. Now I got the third land. Unfortunately, it was Island. I really wanted another white one, but I wanted to get that land really a lot so I can play the binding immediately. So I decided to keep that third island. And yeah, my opponent resolved the Fury right now, and I was trying to find a land, but I missed it. Yeah, I played Preordain last turn, digging for solutions, and I got to the Terminus, which was like very good right now. Cleaning my entire opponent's board. Putting 3 creatures on the bottom is just ridiculously good, and still I'm struggling to find that land, and my opponent got another Fury and put me on 1 life, which was really low. They also had like Kroxa in the yard, and yeah, so I got the Time Walk, and I was now able to play the Beanstalk, get the draw, bounce the Fury with Teferi, get another draw. Of course my opponent just recast the Fury, but that is totally fine. I'm getting another land here and play the Terminus to put the Fury on the bottom. Opponent plays their Undying Evil, probably just to get the cards into the yard, so they can play the Croxar, whatever. And so on their turn they go Totsis, remove my March and play the Croxar, so I must remove discard another card. But this is still good. I have mana to play both Time Warp, get the extra turn, and also play the Teferi. I play the Teferi first because I have the extra turn. I can kill the Croxa easily, and I was kind of digging for the Solitude, and it was exactly I found the Solitude, and that was exactly what I was looking for. So opponent had this window of one turn to try to find a kill, but they didn't find the one damage, and now I have like counter spell, I have double Beanstalk, and that is game over. Also attacking with Solitude, getting on 4 life into the safe zone. Opponent tries to terminate, I have the counter spell, and that's it. I get to attack with Solitude again, gain some more life, plus the Teferi, and opponent finally concedes. That was game 1, let's check out the game 2. Okay, so keeping a one lander with Preordain, 2 Beanstalks, so basically hoping to find another land here. I did find the Lórien, that is decent. Opponent going on for Doughty, and yeah, I must cycle the Lórien, unfortunately get the Zagoth. So now my opponent can immediately sack this Doughty, draw 2 cards, but they decide not to do it, and I draw a Terminus from the top, exiling both of my opponent's creatures. But still I was in a trouble because I didn't get the land, and it's really like crucial to get the land. I get to play the Binding, remove the Grief, and play and finally that third land I was looking for. Okay, so this was now a decent situation. I had to pitch cast the Subtlety here, I couldn't let them resolve the Bowmaster here. I bounce their creature, fetch, and yeah, this was a big problem. Opponent was able to go for the Doughty, copy the Doughty, play my Lórien Revealed, draw 3 cards, and then also play the Bowmaster. The bad news is they had a second Bowmaster on the field when they done this, so they can just repeat this every turn, which is pretty disgusting. So each turn they get to copy the Doughty and draw 3 cards for free, so that was too much, and yeah, that was the way they won this one. My Lórien Revealed costed me the game against the Doughty there. Okay, so had to settle this in the game 3. I had a pretty good hand against Scam, so the Binding, Subtlety, March, just multiple ways to deal with whatever they do. So I go for March, exiling their Ragavan, and then Binding, exiling the Doughty. So the hardest part, like exiling their first 2 threats, has passed, and now we are off to play that longer game. And yeah, I was hoping to find that 4th land. So end of turn I play Dress Down, so this is very useful tool. Often you can use this to play Teferi on your turn, then prevent them from playing the Bowmaster in response. And yeah, unfortunately I top decked the Entreat there, but didn't have the second white mana to create Angels. The Angels would be like so good here. Yeah, I find the Breeding Pool, I shocked in, play the Jace. Maybe this was a bit risky, but I had a subtlety in hand, so it really wasn't. And yeah, I was just able to play the Jace and had the subtlety here to answer whatever Bowmaster or stuff like Fury, and I had the subtlety here to pitch. They put Fury on top and I get another turn to do the Jace ability. Opponent plays Dragon, but yeah, I have just multiple options here. Unfortunately, I was not able to hold both Counterspell and Binding here, but it didn't matter. I just exiled the Ragavan, which was the biggest problem for me at the moment. Let them I kept the Entreat on top, and yeah, so I was just didn't want to shuffle there. I just wanted to resolve my Entreat. I played the Entreat for 3, triggered the Beanstalk, get 3 Angels on the field, and they have only 1 card in hand. And yeah, this is now over. Also, I have a kill when I untap with the Time Walk. And yeah, also Solitude there. Opponent concedes, and that was the match. And that was the entire league for the trophy. Great run, great and fun matches, and I think this deck just worked out exactly like it's supposed to work. Terminus from the top, blindly flipping, that is like not that weird when you have like 5 miracle spells in your deck, and each of them is like very useful in the meta game. Often blindly flipping those terminuses can really get you into very good situation, or even just win the game immediately. Okay, so that's it. Hope you liked the video, hope you liked the gameplay. Friendly reminder to click like, click subscribe, and really want to hear about your game experience with this list. I think this is a great choice for the tournaments, and because there is a lot of scam out there, especially in the paper, and this deck is just doing really good against it. But also not just that, it's doing well against all aggro decks, so Scales, Yawgmoth, all creature based like tribal decks like Zoo, like Merfolk, humans, stuff like that. Also, maybe it's what are the problems of this deck? It has some problems dealing with Tron. It has problems dealing with Burn, and maybe Cascade version of the Beans. So, but if you expect some of these decks in your metagame, you can adjust your sideboard to it to fight it effectively. So, if you want to beat the Cascade Beans consistently, you have to play like some Lavinias on the sideboard. This card is very good against it. Elesh Norn can be helpful. Also against the Tron, you can play more Land Hate, which can get you, which can buy you more time until you do the Entreat, or just be down with Solitude, or do the Jace ulti. Okay, so cards like Force of Negation, Subtlety also help there, but like Commandeer is definitely card to consider to beat the Tron matchup. And yeah, so there are definitely some options for the Burn. Of course, you can play the gain life spells or just more counter spells. And that's it. Basically, there are definitely a lot of options. A lot of options. Obsidian Charma, it's a good card played in the Beanstalk decks, but in this version, there's mana base doesn't really support it well, so it's not an option for this list. But there are like other cards that can also hit well on the lands, and that are accessible for this list. And that's it. Okay, so again, thank you for watching, and goodbye.